So what makes a minor scale sound minor? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. And don't worry, you don't have to be a music theory geek to understand this. I'm going to explain it in simple layman terms. I'm going to show you a formula that if you follow it every time, you're going to get a minor scale. And then we're going to apply it to the guitar, and I'll show you how this all works on the guitar fretboard. Let's do this. The minor scale is just a series of notes that follows these rules. There's 8 notes. It's going to end on the same note that it starts on, in this case, A, and ends on A, and there's only going to be one of each note name. So, as I mentioned, the A minor scale starts on A and ends on A, conveniently. The notes are A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and A. Of course, the musical alphabet only goes up to G, so we start over. So I want to mention just briefly that we can number the notes. In other words, we can call the first note in a scale 1, the second note 2, the third note 3, and so on. We call those scale degrees. And the only reason that will come up is when we want to talk about a scale more in general, generic terms. What I mean by that is we can call the first note in a scale number 1. It's the first degree. So it could be any scale. If it's a D scale, the first note would be D. If it's an E scale, it would be E. But it separates the actual letter name from the number or the position of that note. What's more important for the discussion today is what we call the space between the notes, or more formally called intervals. We can use intervals to create a kind of a formula. In other words, if you use the exact same distance between each of the notes and you follow that, it becomes a formula for a scale, in this case, the minor scale. So here's the intervals for the A minor scale. Starting on A and going to B, we have one whole step. A whole step, by the way, in guitar terms, is 2 frets on a string. From B to C, we need a half step. That's 1 fret. From C to D, a whole step. From D to E, another whole step. Now, from E to F, we've got another half step. Remember the rules of B and C and E and F? This I've talked about in previous videos. It means that between the notes B and C and the notes E and F, there naturally falls 1 half step. You could really see it on the piano. There's no black key between those notes. All the other notes are whole steps. In other words, G to A, even though you're starting over, is a whole step, and so on. Okay, back to the notes. E to F was that half step. F to G is the whole step, and G to A, as I just mentioned, is another whole step. And we're starting over again. So we can say the formula for a minor scale is, follow me, whole, half, half, whole, half, whole, whole. Of course, I'm talking about steps. In this case, we started on the A note, followed the formula, and got an A minor scale. Let's test this out. Let's try it with another note. We're going to start with a B note this time and follow that same pattern. Now I'm going to have to write in something. You'll see what I mean in a minute. We're going to start with the B to C. Now remember, B to C falls in that rule, and it's always a half step. But we need a whole step, remember, for the formula? So we're going to make that B sharp, and that raises it up a half step, makes it 1 whole step. Then from C sharp to D, we need a half step. Well, it is a half step now. From C sharp to D is a half. If it was just C natural, it wouldn't be. It'd be a whole step. But C sharp to D is a half step. Next, we're going from D to E. We need a whole step. We got it. E to F, another whole step. No, E to F is normally a half step. Again, the rule, E to F, half step. So we're going to make that, you guessed it, F sharp. Next, from F sharp, now to G is going to be a half step. Yep, we're in line. G to A, whole step. And then finally, A to B is another whole step. And we've got it, a B minor scale. B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A, and then B. That was whole step, half step, whole, whole, half step, whole, whole. Let me show you what that looks like on the guitar. So to start off, remember that on the guitar, 1 half step equals 1 fret on the guitar, and 1 whole step is 2 frets. So let's do that A minor scale. We'll start with the open A note. Now we're going to go up 2 half steps, that's 1 whole step, to The next note, I'm not even going to worry about the note names because I want to just talk about the intervals, the distance between the notes. So that's a whole step. Now we need a half step, 1 fret, another whole step, another whole step, half step, whole step, and whole step. Now we ended back up on A, 1 octave apart. Just means 8 notes. So listen to that one more time. It sounds like a minor scale. It's important to use your ears and hear the notes when you practice a scale. Listen to the sound, and you're actually hearing the distance between notes. This is what makes a minor scale sound minor. It's that distance between the notes in that pattern. In other words, when you play notes with those distances between each of the notes, it sounds to our ears like a minor scale. Now, let's take that to the B scale. So we'll start off with the B note. Whole step from there, half step, whole step, another whole step, half step, whole step, and one more whole step. And we should end up back on B. B? Yes, 1 octave apart. That was B. Now I play these on 1 string so you can actually visually see the distance between the notes. Normally I wouldn't play them that way. An A minor scale in open position would look something like this. That was 1 octave instead of going up the entire string, 1 string. And the B would sound, I usually do a movable pattern. What that means is no open strings. B, C sharp. That was the same as when we started on B and went all the way up the string. With a movable scale, it means I can play that same pattern all up and down the neck, and just by playing the pattern, have a different minor scale. So for example, I got B starting here. If I go to C and start there, I get a C minor scale. Let's go 2 more frets to D. D minor. Thanks for joining me today. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section below. If you haven't already watched it, watch my video on the major scale. You'll find when you compare the minor and major scales, the whole thing makes a little more sense. Check it out.